Hey everybody, this is Shane with Shane Media. Today we're going to discuss Halloween Ends. Alright, I'm not here to change anybody's mind. Everybody has the right to not like this movie. Everybody has their own opinions, and honestly, most of those opinions are valid.
Yeah, well, that's just like your opinion, man.
Alright, so I was going to give a formal movie review, but I changed my mind. I'm actually just going to give you guys my unscripted thoughts on this movie because I think there's a lot to unpack here. Obviously, this was a very divisive movie, and so basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and give you everything I liked and disliked. I'm probably going to get the stuff I disliked out of the way first, since the stuff I did like I think outweighs the bad. I really did like this movie, so I do want to focus on the good things more, so let's go ahead and get the cons out of the way. I guess the biggest one that I had, and probably it seems like most people had with this movie, was the utilization of the shape of Michael. So I've seen memes floating around social media saying that, and even people like, actual conversations where people mention that, yeah, he was only in this movie just under 11 minutes or something like that, but he only had like 9 minutes and a few seconds in the first movie. So, yeah, I guess that is true. I did a little bit of research. That is true, but that's totally out of context because if you look at the first movie and how Michael was utilized in that movie, his presence was all over that movie. He was the looming threat. He was the storm that was coming. Like, he was the evil presence that was looming and haunting that entire movie. Same with like Jaws. Okay, I've done some research on that. He only had a few minutes. The shark only had a few minutes in that movie, but his presence was all over that movie. So with Halloween Ends, yeah, he had a couple more minutes of screen time, but he was not really felt like his presence was not really a looming threat in this movie. Yeah, he was there. He was discussed. I mean, people still feared him, but the attention and focus was definitely on Corey and even Allison. This little, love story that David Gordon Green wanted to tell about them, which I was fine with. I was on board for that. I did enjoy that, but I feel like they definitely mishandled Michael. Another thing was the way they put Michael in such vulnerable positions in this movie. I did not like that at all. So there's even instances in the original movie that I didn't like. I'm not going to get into all that right now, but even the original, despite being my favorite horror movie of all time, I guess is not a perfect film if I really look at it like that, because it even had some things in it I didn't like. I probably would have changed. But one of them that was, that was doubled down in this movie was Michael being in such a vulnerable position. They did it in Kills when he's arrested. I did not want to see that. I don't think anybody wanted to see that. And in this one, big time, when Corey basically punks him out for his mask in the, down in the sewer. Did not like that at all. I didn't think they needed to show that. I was totally fine with Corey getting the mask. If he would have showed up in the next scene with the mask and explained it away with a line of dialogue even, I would have been okay with that. Just like how I was okay in Halloween 2018 with them arresting Michael. I was totally fine with that, but I didn't want to see him get arrested. And that's the same thing with Corey getting the mask. I don't think I heard anybody complaining that Corey was going to be a copycat killer, but it was the way they executed it. Nobody wants to see Michael getting beat up. Honestly, that's why I don't even want to see any versus more movies with Michael. He's my favorite character. He's the boogeyman. I don't want to see the boogeyman getting spin kicked or thrown out a window by Freddy Krueger or Jason. To me, that's not. It basically takes the dignity, what little bits even left of any of these characters now, and just throws it out the window. So I didn't like that. I definitely would have changed that. It is a pretty big problem. I'd probably dock it 2 or 3 points just for that. But honestly, aside from that, that was about it on my cons. I mean, yeah, I could nitpick all day, but I don't want to do that. I enjoyed this movie. So I want to focus on the things that I enjoyed about it. One of the big ones was that, yeah, the movie took a risk. Halloween 2 from 2009 and Halloween 3 both took a risk. And oddly enough, actually it's not odd, it checks out. They are two of my favorite in this franchise. In fact, 2018 may be my favorite Michael Myers sequel, but Halloween 3 is my favorite Halloween sequel, period, bar none, hands down. So I really enjoyed that movie. It did something different. It had an awesome story. It was twisted as shit. I mean, it doesn't get any more evil than a doctor trying to kill every kid on the planet, and even the rest of the subject matter. I mean, what was it? The Irish conspiracies, the masks that have creepy crawlies come out and eating children's. Yeah, it was crazy. I really enjoyed that movie. And then Halloween 2009, there were things I didn't like. I didn't like that Michael talked at the end of, I believe it was the director's cut. You can correct me on that. But I did enjoy that movie. It's actually one of the better sequels, if you ask me. Not a lot of rewatch value, but that's only because Rob Zombie's dialogue is kind of hard to sit through. But another thing I really enjoyed about this movie was the ending. I know I'm bouncing around, I'm not going in order here, but I'm just saying things as they pop in my head. Sorry, I've got a raspy voice that's making it hard to talk. The ending, yeah. I liked that they had the balls to finally end this movie. I mean, I don't know. So I had heard that the Akkads had a clause that you were not allowed to kill Michael, which was kind of BS. I mean, that's bogus. You are not able to give any finality to that character or the character of Laurie Strode when you do that. You handicap the story when you do that. So I didn't like that. But apparently that clause was lifted because they definitely ended it, and I enjoyed that. They gave some finality to it, some closure. Now we can actually take this franchise in a different direction for once, and we don't have to worry about Michael coming back and doing another dead-end story. Honestly, back to my original point about them doing something different, I mean, how many times can you honestly do man in white mask comes to town, stabby stab, kills some people, stabby stab, disappears? I mean, that gets old. I didn't want to see that again. I was actually very appreciative that this movie went out of its way to do something different, and we've never seen a love story in Halloween. I guess some other things that I really did enjoy about this movie, I mean, the characters. We actually had a more character-driven story. I loved what they did with Laurie. She was finally healing. Yeah, people say it just seemed like bad writing that, he killed 3 of her friends in the first movie and got away, and it haunted her for 40 years to the point that she wrecked her family and, totally had a very dysfunctional life. It destroyed her family. She had no friends. The town, kind of disowned her, everything. And then after the events of 2018 and Kills, he gets away. And let me backtrack. I said he got away in the original. He didn't get away. That was it. So he killed a few of her friends and actually got locked up, and it ruined her for 40 years. He kills many more people, including her daughter and several other friends, and he gets away, and she's no longer broken. She's actually healing. I actually didn't see that as a step back in her character or a plot hole or bad writing. I looked at that as, okay, she realized what that first 40 years of reacting to that trauma did to her life and her family, so she didn't want to repeat that. She chose happiness. I was okay with that. I thought it was good writing, actually, and I really thought they handled it very well in this movie. I think they handled Allison very well. People said that her character wasn't really consistent. But let's face it, if you went through even half of what either of these characters went through, can you honestly say that you know how you would react in that situation? I don't think so. So I think, for all things considered, I think they handled the characters really well. Obviously, I like the score. I mean, all three of these movies have had awesome scores. Every one of them. So that's a check in the right direction. And as far as these movies go, you know, if you have a good score, that's already like 3 whole points on a movie's grading right there. So there was that. Yeah, I really don't even know what more I can say other than it was just a good time for me. I watched it the first time in theater, loved it, and I've seen it about 3 times since, and I've liked it a little bit more every single time. I guess I didn't like that Corey got beat up by some band geeks and then was able to beat up Michael, who 4 years prior manhandled an entire town with weapons and pitchforks and knives and bats and guns and everything. But, you know, obviously he wasn't the same Michael. He's been in a sewer for 4 years. He was beaten really badly in that movie. I mean, at the end of the day, yeah, he has a supernatural element about him, but he's still a man, so that's obviously going to all take a toll on his body. So I was okay with that. That didn't bother me that bad. I didn't overthink too many things, and I wasn't nitpicking. I went into this movie wanting to have a good time, and that's what I did. I had a good time. I wish more people loved it. I do understand why they don't. Like I said, I see the issues that people had with it. I just was able to look past them. So that's pretty much all. I mean, I don't have a rating system yet. This is a brand new channel. Honestly, this movie is what inspired me to finally make a channel. I've wanted to for a few years. I just never did. But if I was to grade this movie out of 10, I would probably give it an 8.5, honestly, guys. I mean, I loved it. I think it will become a cult classic over time. I don't really know. I guess we'll just have to see what happens. But I'm anxious to see where this franchise can go after this. Maybe we can pick up from Halloween 3, or maybe even reboot Halloween 3. Maybe they can finally go back and give us the closure to Jamie Lloyd that we never got after part 4, because 5 was awful and 6 was good. I like 6, but I had some issues with that, especially with the Jamie character. Anyways, that's all, guys. I'm going to go ahead and get off here. I'm going to post my socials down in the description. Click that like button, share this video. I really appreciate it. It would really help this channel and to help get my name out there. Thank you, and have a good night.